Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Saraya Mia. The government has no plans to implement any restrictions, including the Movement Control Order MCO, issued during the COVID-19 pandemic to control the spread of Mpox. Health Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad says this decision was made after the results of screening tests conducted on 6.2 million travelers who entered the country were found to be negative. He said the government is taking every measure necessary to keep the disease out of the country, which includes screening of all international points of entry by sea, air and land. Zulkifli confirmed that to date, out of the over 6 million people screened, there have been 52 suspected cases of Mpox, but all of them have tested negative. He also urged the public to stay calm and alert, especially since neighboring countries like Singapore, Philippines and Thailand have detected Mpox cases. He added that the MOH will be ready to provide Mpox antivirals to vulnerable groups and those with low immunity, if necessary, to prevent the spread of the virus. Now, a bus driver who allegedly uploads videos of his passengers believed to be school kids has been charged at a sessions court in Muar. The 24-year-old pleaded not guilty after 2 charges were read out to him before Judge Sayani Muhammad Noor.
The defendant, who goes by the handle Abang Bas on TikTok, is accused of committing physical sexual abuse by kissing the cheek of a 4-year-old girl, who is also his niece, from April to September 2024. For the second charge, the defendant is accused of committing non-physical sexual abuse for repeatedly observing a 9-year-old girl for sexual purposes inside the same school bus this month. Both offences fall under the Sexual Offences Against Children Act 2017, where he could face up to 20 years imprisonment, caning and a fine of not more than 20,000 ringgit. He was granted bail at 30,000 ringgit for both charges, and case mention was set for October 10th. Last week, a video circulated on TikTok showing the school bus driver calling a primary school student as his crush and darling while on duty, as well as kissing and touching another student believed to be asleep. The post received public backlash, with many deeming it inappropriate.
Malaysia will develop a center of excellence in education and training for youth from developing and post-war countries. Higher Education Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir says among the countries to be selected include Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya and Timor-Leste.
The matter, he said, was agreed upon in a bilateral meeting with the president of the ASEAN and East Asian Economic Studies Institute, Professor Tetsuya Watanabe, and lead trade specialist at World Bank Group, Dr. Roberto Echandi, in his visit to Switzerland from September 6 to 9th. Zamri said Malaysia welcomed the proposal as it is in line with the ministry's focus to internationalize higher education. At the initial stage, Zamri said the Institute of Malaysian and International Studies at University Kebangsaan Malaysia UKM will be the coordinator for related programs and ensuring the plan is a success.
Malaysia recognizes the contribution of the Malaysian Chinese community in the country's socio-economic developments, as well as in economic, cultural, educational and industrial sectors. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim said this in his keynote address at the 17th World Chinese Entrepreneurs Convention in Kuala Lumpur earlier today.
We have seen the resilience of our entrepreneurs, and today I would like to acknowledge and salute the role of Chinese entrepreneurs in Malaysia and globally for assuming the task to propel our economy and the international economy.
He added that in a world marked by complexities and fraught with increasing instability, uncertainties and unpredictability, Chinese entrepreneurs globally can assume a bigger role in safeguarding regional economic cooperation, ensuring the security of crucial supply chains, and promoting global socio-economic development. Malaysian badminton champion Lee Zijia has moved up 1 place in the Badminton World Federation ranking, Now placing third. According to the new world ranking released today, Lee earned his placing after winning the bronze medal in the Paris Olympics 2024. He replaced Indonesia's Jonathan Christie, who dropped to number 7. While above him are two-time Olympic champion Shi Yuki from China as world number 1, followed by Denmark's Victor Axelsen. The highest world ranking that Zijia has achieved before was world number 2 in January 2023. The 26-year-old could make his competitive return after the Olympics in the China Open in Changzhou next week. Now it's time for a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
Semangat membara di padang. Dari sepak mula ke minit terakhir, tekad perjuangan dicurahkan sepenuhnya demi mengejar kemenangan.
Peluang yang diperlukan dan beliau menyempurnakannya.
Pemburuan takhta yang tiada hujungnya. Sokonglah sepenuhnya demi Liga kita. Liga Super secara langsung di Astro.
Gempur di AWANI 7.45.
Welcome back. Continuing the conversation on adapting Malaysia's transportation system to the latest advancements in technologies. As the government plans to expand the country's public transport system, there are vital steps to be taken before scaling it further. Transport consultant Wan Agil Wan Hassan weighs in on the pace of development of the country's transport system.
I think we've been doing a lot of expansion on public transportation system. We are now talking about MRT3 and possibly the high-speed rail discussion with Singapore. But I think the most important question that need to be asked whether there is a reform within this expansion, because Malaysia has made significant strides expanding the public transportation system, in particular for Klang Valley with MRT, LRT system. But beyond the expansion, there is a serious systemic issues that continue to plague the transportation infrastructure. We have delays, cost overruns, poor integrations, for example, connectivity issues when it comes to public transport in KL. This is something that we need to pay attention to, and we need to fix the problem before we really consider or even paying serious attention to expansion. Moreover, public transportation development has been uneven. We've been focusing on KL a lot, and perhaps Penang, like secondary city like Penang, Johor Bahru, and Kuching. But there is inequality of development when it comes to rural public transportation system. It creates some sort like what we call it a transport deserts, where there are areas that most needed, which is not connected with public transport. This is mainly the rural areas, right? Rather than simply expanding a public transport network, I think Malaysia need to rethink on how we manage projects. We need to focus on shift towards improving the reliability of the services, enhancing the last mile connectivity. That's very important, because without first mile and last mile connectivity, it is very hard for people to access our public transportation system. It's a taboo issue. We've been talking about it for quite some time, but it's yet to be solved in order to ensure seamless integration between transportation modes. And also, we talk less about TOD, the transport-oriented development. We've been seeing a lot of development happening in KL, but it seems to be isolated and not connected to public transportation infrastructure. So this is going to be bad for traffic congestion, because then you're going to force them to drive, and they will not be easily access our public transportation transit point.
On to foreign news. Australia plans to set a minimum age limit for children to use social media, citing concerns about mental and physical health. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says the government will first run an age verification trial before introducing age minimum laws for social media this year. However, Albanese didn't specify an age, but said it would likely be between 14 and 16 years old. The law would put Australia among the first countries in the world to impose an age restriction on social media. Previous attempts, including by the European Union, have failed following complaints about reducing the online rights of minors. The inquiry has also sparked backlash from digital rights advocates, who warn the measure could drive dangerous online activity underground. A 2023 University of Sydney study found 3/4 of Australians aged 12 to 17 had used YouTube or Instagram. Meanwhile, landslides and floods triggered by Typhoon Yagi have killed at least 65 people in Vietnam. Another 752 people have been injured, while 39 others are still missing in the north. The country's disaster management agency said most of the victims were killed in landslides and flash floods. Yagi is the most powerful storm to hit Asia so far in 2024. Making its way from the Philippines and China, it made landfall on September 7th in Vietnam's northeastern coast, downing bridges, tearing off roofs, and damaging factories. Several rivers in northern Vietnam have risen to alarming levels, leaving villages and residential areas inundated. In capital Hanoi, communities along the Red River were also partially underwater, with people forced to evacuate in boats. Perpetrators who commit sexual harassment on metropolitan Jakarta's main rail transport network will now get a lifetime ban from trains. Railway operator Kereta Komuter Indonesia KCI says it is also considering increasing the number of female-only carriages to improve safety. On Sunday, KCI announced a blacklist to combat the issue of sexual harassment on the Greater Jakarta commuter rail. More than 1.1 million passengers rely daily on the network, which connects the capital city with neighboring suburbs of Bogor, Depok, Tangerang, and Bekasi. Apart from the ban, 762 surveillance cameras have been installed across 82 stations. According to KCI data, its officers attended to 30 sexual harassment cases, both in the station and aboard trains, from January to August this year. 13 more cases were flagged via social media during the same period. The very first Mpox vaccine by China has been approved for clinical trials nationwide. The jab is developed by a subsidiary of state-owned pharmaceutical giant Sinopharm, which was also responsible for China's first COVID-19 vaccine at the height of the pandemic in 2020.
There are currently no approved Mpox vaccines in China. This one is expected to undergo 3 phases of clinical trials before gaining market approval. Sinopharm said its vaccine showed good efficacy and immunity protection against the virus, as seen in non-human primate models. The jab's arrival comes amid a rise in Mpox cases, previously known as monkeypox, around the world. More than 2,500 Mpox cases have been reported in China, including those in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau.
That report wraps up AWANI Tonight. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Saraya Mia, and we'll see you again.